and welcome back to another episode of Lewwe here from Doc. Today with me again we have Dr. Mitchell, and Dr. Mitchell, December 15th is a significant and exciting day because it's NNP Convention Day. So join us guys as we dive into conversations and discussions and plans for the future. So Dr. Mitchell, with speculation that this may be your last term as party leader, how do you think the leadership style and priorities of the new National Party might shift under a new leader?
Well, first of all, I've not made an official announcement yet, so that has to come at the right place and time. And if that has to be there, then that of course, we can talk hypothetically of what the situation is. I don't think there's going to be much of a problem because, let's face it, everything in life has transition and purpose in a given time period. And nothing goes on forever. But the key thing is the expertise and experience of persons who are there in a particular area of responsibility. If they are there still when the time comes and there's any change, then that expertise is available for any new person coming in. So there's not going to be this major concern about whether this is going to happen with a new person. All experienced heads would be there working as a team. Remember, the success of any organization is not just based on just one person. The period in which I served as political leader of the NNP since 1989, when I became leader, and the period I served as 23 years as Prime Minister. Some people might give me a lot of credit for what is perceived as the success of the party, even in 6 elections. And of course, the success of the government that has ensured major transformation in all aspects of the life of the population from 1995 to the period when we ended in 2022. But that would not have happened if it was not for the team that you were able to assemble. And I always relied on the expertise of people who were there before me at the party level. This John Watts, the Danny Williams, and I could name all of them. I never made no major decision with the party without consulting those persons. So without their expertise and my reaching out, and that's the real major criteria of the leadership, the characteristics of the leadership, how you encompass and bring people and use people appropriately to aid your success. So they were very important elements on the success of the party for all this period that I was leader. And similarly in government, had it not been my interest in reaching out to many of those persons who served in government, many of the persons who were public servants who were seen as success stories in the management of the public service, I reached out to them because having taken over Prime Minister in 1995, I never had the experience of managing a public service as a leader of the country. But these people were there under successive governments before, and they would have known and seen some of the challenges that existed. And therefore, I always reached out to a lot of key public servants. I wouldn't want to name them here because they're not going to be fair as past public servants. But they were very important elements in the success of the government during the period I served as Prime Minister. And of course, the team in the political arena, like the Gregory Boyne, the several persons that we had over the years that were in government, Elvin Nimrod, of deceased brother, many of those, Clarice Modest, and just I could name all of them. If it was not for their support and their wanting to be part of a successful team and doing their share, I would never have been seen as successful. So I get a lot of credit that I should not get it by myself. It should be the collective members of the party and the government and the public service as a whole who were able to help. And for example, I remember some public servants when we got there who may not have necessarily been warm to me politically. But after several months in government, I think they recognized that I was not really concerned about who they voted for and who they liked politically. I'm more concerned about their ability to help me to govern the country appropriately and to take decisions that will work in the interests of the people. And they themselves would look good, and I would also look good. And I think over a period of time, many of them were able to come forward and say to me, I never supported you, but and I can't tell you I support you politically, but I really admire your approach to governance and the way you reach out to people. I give you an example of you see, this conversation is so important because some people would know this. A certain public servant whom was perceived, because you never know where people vote. Somebody might say that person voted, not necessarily having voted for the NNP, was perceived. And I then sent for recommended that person to occupy a certain position in government to help the government go forward. And that person was very shocked because they knew the perception was that they did not support. So they were shocked that I asked them to play such a key role. So when the decision of the public service came forward to the individual called me and said, Prime Minister, I saw something come through, but I need to talk to you first. So I said, fine, come. So when the person reached, they said, I'm not calling the sex of the person. So when the person came in, I said, they said, well, I'm here because I saw this recommendation, and said to me, Prime Minister, do you really want me here? I said, why you ask me this? And I said to the individual, I said, look, let me say that to you. I know what you're thinking, but my concern is not about whether you are a sympathetic politically or not. My concern is that you're capable of doing the work and you would not do anything to undermine the success of what we're trying to do. And that to me is the only consideration, because I want to be successful. So I want you to be assured that that is the criteria. That's why you're here. And I made another statement I won't repeat here to the individual and so on. And I think that may have rested in the people's mind that was not a game. Maybe they thought it was a game. It was not a game. So that individual and I became very good friends. I cannot tell you they voted for my government, or probably still would vote for my government, and so on. But I know there was a high level of appreciation for me, the person, and it was the same thing the other way around. I really had a high admiration for the individual because they demonstrated, despite any perception of the political support, one way or the other, that I was willing to give them the opportunity to serve the country professionally, not politically. And I think this is critically important. That's why the question you ask is so important about leadership going forward. So I'm very convinced that if I make the decision and when I make it going forward, that there's no need for the population to be worried. Because I intend to give my expertise and advice to anyone who occupied a position of leader of my party in the case of the politics, and also leader of the country in the case of the government functioning. In fact, it must be remembered, when this Prime Minister won the election, I had called him and offer my congratulations, which is the right thing to do. When if you are in a cricket match and you lose, the loser congratulates the winner. You see it all the time on the games that you see playing. Football, same thing. They shake hands and so on. So I called him, and he did say that he appreciated the call and so on. And we made some general comments and so on. And I did say before I left, I said to him, I am available because he did say, I have not been in this job and I've never done anything like this. So I'm new, and therefore I will need all the advice I can get. And I said to him, I'm always willing. One thing you rest assured, my country comes first, not my political party. And I said further, I will not be offering you political advice because I'm still head of my party. I'm not a member of your party, so I wouldn't be offering you political advice. But anything dealing with the country and what is best for the country, you could call on me. And he said he appreciated this and so on. And so had he used my advice, which means I was there for 23 years, I would have given it. Any advice with decisions that would have a lot of impact on the country's success or failure, I would not fail to do it. He doesn't have to accept it, but if he asks, I would give him my own advice. And that's how. And I feel the government probably would have been far more successful had he involved me. So I'm making the point. If I give up, and when I give up leadership and a new person take over, that person becomes the prime minister and head of my political party, I'm pretty sure they would do the right thing and certainly consult me whenever they feel the necessity to do. And they don't have to accept it. And I would never impose my will on anyone, but I certainly would not hold back any advice I have, which I believe is in the interest of the country. Now, the present Prime Minister never followed up. He said he will call me, and I made a joke before he left, before the conversation finished. I said, don't spoil the name of Mitchell, And he had a good laugh, and we left it that way. And the next thing I know, he went on and make a public statement and say, I called him and he didn't call me. So he lost out, not me lost. And he has never called me since that time. But that's his problem. And I mean, that's his choice. I'm not upset. I'm just showing that I'm interested in my country first. And what is best for the majority of persons in the country, and in the case of the political party, would always be the first priority of mine going forward.
And as you mentioned that, Dr. Mitchell, it's funny because it's a bit petty, It's a bit petty to go online and say, hey, he called me and I didn't. We're not in school. And that is not a good leadership trait at all. And you made mention, because we're on the topic of leadership right now, and so that is not a good leadership trait. And you made mention that you spoke to someone and you recommended them. Now that is a good quality of a leader, because you need to be able to identify persons and you recommend persons whether they're politically affiliated with you or not, simply based on merit and not based on political affiliations. And that is a true testament of leadership qualities. And in leadership, I think people need to be fair. They need to be honest, They need to have that integrity and they need to be humble. But what they fail to realize as well, that leadership is not just passing orders. You need to be a good listener, because a good leader is a good follower. And I think the Prime Minister missed out on a good opportunity to learn from someone who has been in the business long enough, because success leaves patterns, and we should be able to pick from that and do better.
And let me make this point, and that's why, and as I look forward and going forward with my own political party and so on, I will not fail to give advice as to whom I believe has demonstrated that quality of characteristics that are demonstrative of potentially good leader. And if I see someone that is not showing that characteristics, I would be unfair to them and myself,
of course,
and the country and the political party organization to not say so. I have called certain persons when I was in government, and I said to them, I heard them expressing interest in leadership and so on. But I want to tell you this, I have not seen any leadership yet. So if you expect me in the future to promote you or to give support, I will not be able to do it because I would be dishonest myself. And I think people have to understand. So a lot of times when you hear stories, I am interested in Keith Mitchell has served. I believe my legacy is intact. And I won't want to do anything to destroy that legacy.
Of course.
But I feel I have a fundamental responsibility to be honest with myself and the people that have given me, that have cherished me. And they've given me so much. 40 years as a representative, 23 years as a prime minister, 36 years as leader of a political party. What more can any individual ask? And I'm going to be upset the day that the people voted against me and said, time to rest. Why should I? Why should I? Because that's their right. And I feel they've given me so much. So I feel privileged in a sense. And I owe it to them to also give my views and what I perceive to be the best persons going forward to lead my political party, which I cherished so much, and by implication lead the country, because I'm convinced whoever leads the NNP will lead in the government of the country. I have no doubt about it, because I think this government has already written off itself from possible getting a second term because of how they have operated in government. And I feel so. I am here, and as you can see, I've told people, I'm at peace. I'm at peace with myself, and that's why I could afford to be honest and free with people. Some people may not like it. Some people like me to play games. Some people like me to say that I'm a good person, I'm a good leader, and all that. I wouldn't do it if I don't feel so. If I do it, I'll be dishonest to you and to myself, and that makes no sense.
And then again, that goes back to qualities of a good leader. You need to be honest. You need to have that integrity.
Well, that's the only way. That's the only way. I don't tell you one thing and behind your back I'll tell you something. A lot of people criticize me for my positions that I take, and that's their right. But one thing they cannot say is I tell them one thing today, and tomorrow I say another thing. That to me is what you have to do. And you have to be, that makes you free to yourself. Because as long as you're seen as being fair, because don't forget, I'm not perfect. So I may be wrong sometimes. But I have a right to be wrong too. And I have a right to be right too.
Yeah. And we do have a right to agree to disagree.
Fundamentally so. That's what makes a society where people like that are involved in different aspects of life.
Of course. And Dr. Mitchell, can you discuss the potential candidates who might succeed as the new party leader and their vision for the NMP?
If and when I decide.
If and when. If you decide to pass on that baton.
Well, the party, remember, what I just gave you an idea of my own position in terms of my views. So the question of leadership of the NNP going forward would not just be about me, but I would not fail to give my own views. The political organization I am involved in, the NNP, has already taken a position about a process. It has, in fact, sought the advice, appointed a small team headed by former Minister of Health, Clarence Modest Cohen, which is in charge of that committee, and who have, in fact, sought to, the party asked that she issue invitation to members of the party who may be interested in leadership of the party.
Nice.
Going forward, if and when the political leader decides he's giving up the position of political leader. That has been done a few weeks ago, maybe about a couple of months ago. That was decided. And she has proceeded to do just that. And the decision was the committee will interview the applicants.
Right.
And of course, there will be several issues. For example, fundamental philosophy, whether they adhere to the fundamental philosophy of the party. You can't be talking one language and the party has another language and you want to be leader of that party. So if your philosophy is completely different from that of the NNP, then you should form your own party. Because that means you can't be someone espousing a completely different philosophy from the New National Party and want to lead the New National Party. In fact, what you're trying to do is to change the New National Party completely. And after the party has been so successful for all these years, I don't know that anyone want to come in and change it and completely and so on. I mean, modernize the aspects of it, but not to change the philosophy, the fundamental philosophy. So the candidates will be interviewed, those whom, and the committee will then recommend to the executive after the interviews are done with different persons. So I expect if there's going to be a change at the convention, that before the end of the week, there'll be one such meeting with the executive. Right. And the committee will have to report on any future. That's why I can't understand, if you're part of an organization, you adhere to the rules. I don't see how you could go out to the street and start saying, I am running for leader. What do you mean by that? So you by yourself then? This is your little shop. This is not a shop. It's a serious political organization. So you can't go out and say, I am running for leadership. Well, I'm interested in leadership. Yes. And I abide by the rules of the party going forward. But not that I am running, and I am this, and I am that, and I am that, this, and I am, and I am. It doesn't work so. Very interesting. Very, very interesting.
So, Dr. Mitchell, the NNP is experiencing a strong youth wave. How is this influencing the party's policy and the direction?
Youth?
Yeah, youth wave.
Oh, I must say that for the first time, I must say, during my period as involved in the New National Party, I must say this is the one time I've seen the party having persons looking who identify with the youth of the country and involving them in major decision making of the party. I think no matter how much we as leaders in our own right understand and identify with young people must know more about themselves than we do.
Yeah.
So having them, we may make policy and may take initiative, but when it comes from them, it becomes far more effective and more useful in terms of the success of the party going forward. So I'm more than convinced that we are on the best path as far as the future of this party and the future of this country, because the young people and those who are involved must know. Those of us who are there have to move on. One way or the other, we have to move. So people have to see, where's the future? I've seen political parties in the region being highly successful, winning several elections, and the leader goes out for one way or the other, whether they pass on physically or they retire. And the party struggles. So for a party to continue to be vibrant and to be successful electorally, politically, and otherwise, then it must always be looking at the next layer of leadership. And I'm extremely proud. And I think I see people like yourself and many others. I'm so happy. You notice on the stage on Sunday with the presence of present Prime Minister Holness and former Prime Minister Chastity, I turned to the podium and I said, look at this, the array of young people who are on the stage that were showing the kind of leadership and the initiative that was necessary for the success of the party in the future. And it made me feel so contented. And that's, to me, that's when you have your children or your family, and you work with them over a period of time, and all of a sudden you see them growing and reaching a position. It's like a father have a business, and the children start taking initiative and helping to push the business forward. And he said, look, I don't have to continue to be on top there. I will always be there to supervise, to help, to advise, and so on. So it makes you feel a sense of contentment. And to me, that's what those of us in position must always remember. We don't control the future. We have to prepare for the future.
Yeah, so definitely it's very important to bridge that gap between the young and the old to ensure that we have continuation and future progress.
Yeah.
Dr. Mitchell, while we're on the topic of youth, what specific roles are young members expected to play at the convention, and how does the party plan to engage them more effectively in the political processes moving forward? I know you mentioned a little bit of future with youths, but what role do they have to play in the convention?
Well, clearly, the convention must also show the membership. Here are these young people who are playing a major role already in terms of the work of the party. Here was what we have in store for them. Here's what the future will be looking like. And what's our role in mentoring them and going forward. And I think, and we could point towards what we've been doing already. We've seen the meetings, the zonal meetings that we've been having. We have seen the national rally of the party. We have seen the activities of the party, social and otherwise. And people can fail to not recognize that they see a lot of young, new faces coming forward with those of us who are already there. So I think that is going to be the message of the convention, already showing that we have already taken steps to ensure that the young people have a seat at the table where decisions are being made for their future and the future of the country.
It says a lot about the new national party as well, that youths are coming forward in a period when they're not in power. That says a lot about the new national party. So people are looking to the new national party for hope. And it says a lot again that people are still gravitating to the party at a time where it's going to be transitioning, maybe if you decide to pass on the baton to a new leader, and people are still flocking to the new national party. So that says a lot about the values and principles and how much people believe in the new national party. I think that's a testament of that.
It also shows, you said one thing, a few things. One, it shows that the young people themselves are thinking of their own future, not we saying that. They are also taking. Because what I see happening is many times when we see some initiative, it didn't come from us. The young people are the ones coming up with ideas and throwing it at our table. And we say, we would like to do this, which to me is exciting, you know, and also says something. And the government has to realize they must be frightened. Because you are in government. You have the reins of power. You have the resources we don't have in opposition. But the young people are coming towards us and offering ideas and offering advice and taking initiative. So it tells us, if I was in government, I would have been extremely unhappy and frightened at this particular time. But that would be a decision they made in not ensuring that they communicate appropriately and show that the young people understand that they have their future in mind and that they're willing to give them a chance to show their skills and, of course, their leadership going forward.
Looking beyond the convention, what are the primary goals of the NMP that we aim to achieve in the next year?
Well, when the convention is over, the 15th, it's almost at Christmas. So we make the point that we need to have, Christmas is always a special time of the year. You remember the birth of our Lord and Savior and renewing our own Christian values and so on as we prepare for the new year and going forward. But also, it means that come 2025, we'll see a lot of activities of the party at different levels. We'll see more strategic meetings with the young people, with different sectors of the population, different stakeholders in the country. We'll have to meet with the people involved in business. We have to consult with them to find out where they are and what are the challenges they face going forward, and offer our own ideas so we see their role going forward. We meet with the sporting community, the cultural community, and so on. We meet with the young people all around the country going forward. And in other words, all as persons. We meet with the religious community. All the religious not just the conference of churches, all the organization, the non-governmental community also, and speak to them about and ask them about their views of how they see this country going forward, what role they can play and going forward. And I think you're going to see a lot of action. And then we'll also continue with the political meetings at the village level. This one will just
definitely.
villages now going forward. Every village, we'll have to break up the NMP in terms of teams. So you'll see a team in the NMP of maybe a 5-member team, maybe 4 or 5 of that, with 2 or 3 young persons. And each of us take areas of the country with the messages that the party as well certainly want. And we comb the country. We comb the country, informing people and listening to them, not just speaking to them. Take questions and ask for advice, information, and we put that in, and we put it in, computerize that, and ready to go in terms of. So by the time the NNP is ready for a new election, by the time that comes around, the NNP is more than ready to take the reins of government and to have the country go forward.
Definitely, as you say, take recommendations is always good. Is always important
That's
to
key.
to plan. You're planning for the people, but you also need to plan with the people as well. And I laughed halfway through you speaking on your strategies and stuff for next year, 2025, and I laughed because someone mentioned to me sometime last week. NNP always bad when they're in opposition. That's when I like to see them, eh? So
That's a comment I've heard people say that, but I think there's a lot when you're in opposition. Clearly, you have more time to it. Sometimes when you get into government, you have the reins of office, and you have all the institutions of government to deal with. And sometimes the question of the party and its work and its image and the contact with the people sometimes get lost.
Yeah.
And that happens to many governments, and that's why government lose elections.
Personal touch.
It is said all the time, parties win election and government loses them. So what you're saying is perfectly true.
Dr. Mitchell, how is the NNP addressing public perception issues or any controversy leading up to the convention?
Well, engage the public. I think that's the key. And be honest with them.
Yeah.
Don't tell lies. Don't play games. And sometimes people won't like an answer that you give, but if it's the truthful answer, then it's the right answer to give. It may not be the most popular answer, but in leadership, Amanda, one of the worst things you can do in leadership, and that's been my experience over the years, is try to have everybody happy with every decision that you make. It doesn't work. You may wish to have that, but it won't work. What you have to do, challenge yourself to be straight and honest and do what is right. Because sometimes you make a decision that is necessary, but not necessarily popular at the time. But over a period of time, when that initiative you took and that decision you took turns out right, the same people who criticize you come back and start praising you for. So just do what your conscience, don't play games with the population because they'll figure you out. There are some people, some of us believe we're smart and we could, we'll go on a program and use all kinds of nice things. I'm this and I'm that and I'm ready to do that. And the people just, within a few days, they see you do something different. Mm.
They
And
didn't take you
they're not,
serious.
no, they're not listening again. You lose them
Yeah,
because they
yeah.
realize all the games you're playing. And then people figure out, those of us in politics get figured out so easily, sometimes we don't even know when they figure out us.
Definitely. Yes, there is always this place you reach, that crossroad where you have to make hard decisions. And persons may not take a liking to the decisions that you make, but it will definitely benefit everyone in the long run, because some persons don't have a long-term vision. They have a short-term vision, so they can't see what you're seeing, and you're in the heat, so you will definitely feel it.
But it's also a question of some people want to just be in the limelight and be seen as popular, and not necessarily they're not necessarily thinking of the success of the objectives that you set yourself, and that's what counts. How are you improving the lives of the people?
Yeah.
How are you helping them? And I'm not talking about just physically, materially, emotionally, right? Character-wise, how are you helping to build a society that is better than the one you met? That's crucial in the decisions that you make.
And as we come to a close, Dr. Mitchell, what strategies are in place to ensure robust public engagement and transparency during the convention?
Well, we the delegates appropriately will be chosen based on our past experiences. We consistently, for 40 years of conventions that we've done, what we're doing today is what we did 40 years ago, which is the leads, the political leaders or caretakers or candidates, whatever they define, has been asked to provide the delegates' recommendation from the constituencies. And that is how we have done it, and that is how it will be done again. Some people I understand is complaining that the process is unconstitutional. Some of them were not even around. I was there 40 years. Some people are there 30 years, 25 years. And we're happy what we did 40 years ago. You just come, just condemn people just the other day. You come and you're telling us we're not constitutional. And sometimes you were involved in other organizations, less transparency was done and you were happy with it because maybe you were in charge at that time. And so on. So these are all political gamesmanship for what it's worth. I am not involved in that and believe in what is truthful and honest. And we will do whatever we do, and I'm confident that the convention will come out with, NNP will come out of the convention as a strong, united force going forward. With the philosophy that we've had historically, so a center-right organization talking about the rights of people and the democracies, which we have consistently done. And I think Prime Minister Holness made a point. And that's something that must not be missed. He said, look, NNP won 15 seats 3 times, but no one could say that we used the opportunity to run roughshod over people. So a consistent approach to democratic values and involving people and listening to people has always been there when we're in government. Look at what's happening today. Decisions are made, people know nothing about it. The PM is all over the place. He travels, they don't even know where he's at. That never happened during the period of the New National Party. And strange enough, when we were transparent and more, Nazis were there in the streets, and we accepted it. But today, with all what the Prime Minister is doing and traveling, doing whatever he wants and making decisions. I mean, Prime Minister don't say that there's a holiday and tell me, you cannot play music. What kind of person is that? You tell me I can play music. So come pick me up when I start playing that music. And nonsense. That sort of behavior pattern. It's like children. That's not, you don't talk to people that way. And so on. But you're not hearing anybody talking about it. You should be speaking to the Prime Minister, stop it.
People
and it should not be the politician, like the New National Party, the opposition speaking. It should be people different from the politicians advising the Prime Minister, whoever it is, making those foolish statements, not to proceed in that direction. So I'm making a point at the end of this, Amanda, that we'll be a united organization, and we're going to be moving forward. If there is a change in leadership, that leadership will have the total support. We're going forward, marching hand in hand together for a better Grenada,
Well,
Carriacou,
and P.T. Martinique. Well, the New National Party has always been a united team, and to say certain things are unconstitutional. Well, I mean, if it's not broken, if the system is not broken, then you can't change it.
Yeah.
If it's working, then you leave that there. So, Dr. Michelle.
But you never know. Sometimes there's a period in life to me, my woman power. We have enough manpower already. Let's take some woman power now, man. The man is there still. The men are there still. They are there still. But woman power time. Woman power.
But funny enough, you know that. But you know that the New National Party has not only bridged the gap with youths, but it has bridged the gap with in gender as well.
That's
because I think the New National Party is the only party in Grenada that has the most women involved.
Well, let me tell you this. We were the only part, when we looked at the Parliament, 2018, 2022, 2013, we identify as the Parliament in the Commonwealth with the most amount of women in the Parliament and the Cabinet of the country. That's a fact.
And that says a lot again.
Grenada, not just about the Commonwealth. That was identified. So the New National Party has consistently been responsible for giving women opportunity to lead and to provide a direction and support for the country.
The New National Party has constantly been making history, and we may make history again.
You never know.
You never know.
Just stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Sunday is going to be a big day for all of us.
It's going to be a big one. So thank you, Dr. Michelle, for coming here. It's always a pleasure being with you, speaking with you, and so forth. And to the folks out there, thank you for watching. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel.
It's so nice to be here with you too. Thank you. Yes.